Hi everyone, welcome to Paul Programs. Today we're going to be talking about everyone's favorite digital pet, the Tamagotchi. So first off, we're going to actually pop one open and see what's actually in the box. Then we're going to take a look at all the different things you can actually do with it. And then last, we'll jump into Unity and we'll see how we can make our own digital pet simulator. Alright, let's get started. Alright everybody, let's crack this bad boy open. So here we have our Tamagotchi. So there you go. All the lovely instructions and stuff. All the different things you can do with him. Discipline him. Give him some stuff to take care of him when he's sick. Turn off the lights when he's sleeping. And clean up his mess by using the bathroom option. So let's open this up. Ooh, that's the package. Alright. Ooh, looks like there's instructions in there. Alright, what's this? Alright, it's out of the box, so we could just take that and put that somewhere else. Alright, and here we go. Classic. Oh, same with you. You can go somewhere else. Alright, here are directions with a weird little notch in there for storing who knows what. But this was the gift of the 90s. Our Tamagotchi itself. So here we go. Here it is. Has our little tab to pull out, so this way the battery can start powering it. Talks about our instructions, but I mean, battery changing, all that fun stuff. But none of that really matters because it's pretty self-explanatory based on like the images and stuff. So let's see. And we'll pull the grenade trigger, and oh, there we go. Here it is, our first Tamagotchi egg. So there's really nothing you can do initially because it starts off as an egg. Oh, you can set the time though. So that pretty much covers everything that's in the box. So now let's go and discuss what's actually going on the device itself. Alright, now that we have our Tamagotchi free from its box, let's actually talk about the gameplay of Tamagotchi. So it's not really your standard game loop where like there's some very specific goal. It's more of, well, literally like raising a pet. So the game actually starts off with you getting an egg. After a few moments, the egg will actually hatch. From there, you're supposed to feed it, take care of it, clean it, all sorts of different actions. And there's different ways that the critter will pretty much let you know that you have to do a specific task or something. Such as there'll actually be pretty much a little poop on the screen whenever it needs to be clean. When it's hungry, it'll actually make audible noises, but you also have a status screen, which you can actually use for finding out all the different details about your current Tamagotchi. How happy it is, how hungry it is, how healthy it is, how well disciplined it is, and so on and so forth. And then you have other functions too, so when the Tamagotchi goes to sleep, you actually need to turn the lights off. Another thing you can do is if it gets sick, you can take care of it and heal it up. So, and then depending on each of the different actions you do, when you do it, how disciplined or not the Tamagotchi is, will decide what the Tamagotchi actually evolves into. So the Tamagotchi, after a certain amount of time of taking care of it, will evolve into a different form. And then your goal is basically to see how long you can actually keep the Tamagotchi around for. But if we really want to break down the main game loop, it starts with egg creation, then hatching, then a constant loop of just interacting and adapting to each of the different emotions your Tamagotchi has at the time, leading to it evolving, and then keep rinsing and repeating until pretty much the Tamagotchi passes on, and then you start the cycle all over again with a brand new egg. So that pretty much covers our main gameplay for a Tamagotchi. It's pretty simple, there's nothing too complicated, so let's actually jump into Unity and code something together. Alright everyone, here we have our Unity scene set up. So as you can see, we have 4 buttons similar to the 7 different actions you can actually take with a Tamagotchi. And then in the middle we have our actual text. So if you see, we'll open up our canvas, and so we have text that'll basically represent our digital pet right now. Basically, this is just to cover our basics, and let's actually get started with a script. So first we're gonna right click here, create, and then we're gonna create our new script, and we're just gonna call it pet. Let's see, simulator, and then we'll just call it manager. All right, and this script is what's basically gonna be handling all of the pet simulator stuff. So now we just need to attach it to something because there'll be a bunch of things that happen all the time. So we're just gonna drag this over to the camera. All right, and let's make sure it's attached on our camera properly. All right, there it is. And our script is now set up. And with that, let's jump into some code. Here we have the class that we just created. So let's begin by setting up some variables. So first thing we're going to want to do is set up a flow, and then let's see, we'll call it, actually let's make it a private flow, and it'll be cur timer equals 0.0f, and then we're going to create another flow which is behavior change time, and that'll equal, let's say, 30.0f. All right, so these two are basically going to be the timer and the target time that we're going to want to use when actually tracking the behavior. So whenever we want the behavior to change of our digital pet, as soon as the current timer equals the change time, then it'll make that change. Now that we have our timers down, the next thing we're going to want to actually create is a private int, and then cur, and then let's see, status, and it'll equal to 0. So basically the status is going to be our way of just tracking whenever our digital pet similar to Tamagotchi is in a different state. So what we can do is 0 will just be fine / normal. And then say we'll have like 1 is hungry, 2 is like sad, 3 is dirty, and then we'll have 4 be bad. So this way we can discipline it. So these are the different states. These states are going to be important because depending on what actions we pretty much send through, we'll decide on basically how the creature will react. Okay, now that we have that set, let's actually create a method here. So it's going to be a private void and change status. So what this is going to do is this is going to be the method that actually changes the status. So let's see, if status is greater than 0, it's going to automatically change the status back to 0. And then we're going to do an else if, and actually we're just else. So basically if it's 0, then what we're going to do is we're going to set the status to a random number. So what we're going to do is, let's see, we're going to set status equals math dot, actually I want to create our random number first, so random dot range, and then because we're doing an integer, we're going to do from 1, and then the highest number we want to do is, so we'll do this to make sure. All right, and we always want to do it more than what we have, so 4 is our number, so we want to do it to 5, and we're going to do status equals, and then we're going to close that. All right, and that's going to pretty much change our status to anything between the other ones. So that, all right, and that pretty much covers the change status method. So the other thing we're going to do is the timer. So as mentioned before, we have a timer, so we're gonna do cur timer plus equals time dot delta time. So this is gonna basically make sure that it increments in a way that's relative to current time. And then what we're gonna do is check to see if the cur timer is greater or equal to behavior change time. So as mentioned before, we want to make sure if the current timer is more than or the same as the behavior change time, Then we're going to actually call our change status method and reset our timer back to 0. So then it can begin the process all over again. All right, and that covers a lot of the heavy lifting of our code right here. All right, so now there's one more final component that we're going to need when dealing with our digital pet. So we're going to actually create a public, and it's going to be a void method, and it's going to be player action. That's what we'll call it, and we'll set an integer type. All right, and then that's that. All right, so basically what this method's going to do is it's going to pretty much check to see if the type is the same as the status. If it is, then it's going to set status to 0. Otherwise, basically, our pet's not going to like that. So what we'll do is we're going to actually set status to bad, which is 4. So then that'll set our status to 4, and then we're also going to want to reset the timer on both of these. So timer equals 0.0 f, and then basically it'll reset the status again, and that pretty much covers the gist of the behavior and how players can interact with it. Next, we're going to jump into Unity and actually connect this player action to the different buttons, so this way that can do what it needs to do. All right, we're back in Unity, so now we have to actually set up our buttons. So we have our button here for feed, so that's going to do when it's hungry, so we're just going to do this. We're going to actually throw the camera on there. Then the function we're looking for is player action, and then we're going to set it, so since it's hungry is 1, we're going to set it to feed is 2. And then we're going to do the same for all the other buttons. So again, we're going to drag our main camera in, pet simulator, player action. This one's going to be 2. Actually, make sure the order's right. Actually, we're going to set this one to 3 because that's for us that. So then we're going to here, main camera, function, pet simulator. Again, we're going to keep adding the action in. So player action, this case this should be 2. Then we have our discipline when our kid's acting bad. Basically, we have to discipline him and make sure he doesn't do bad things again. So then we're going to do this, and then this one's going to be 4. And that'll actually set up all our functionality. All right. So that pretty much covers the gist of putting things together for our pet. Just so we can see how all this works, I'm going to throw together a real quick script that pretty much is going to output to the name, and then we can actually run our game and see what's going on. All right, and we're back. So let's take a quick look at some of the things we've done. So basically, we built a message manager, which will actually, as you can see here, it's going to set the pet status based on what's going on in the actual pet simulator manager. And then every update, it's actually going to check to see if the status has changed. If the status has changed, then it's going to call a method which runs a switch. This is going to basically check all the different statuses, and depending on what the status is, it's going to change the message. The other thing we did was make it so this actually also takes the text field. So this way, when we actually go to the main camera where we put the script, you can see we connected our text field here. And then just for demo purposes, we set the time to be a little bit smaller. So this way we can actually show things happening much quicker. So, and then we also made one minor change, addition to the Pet Simulator Manager 2. We added a method called getPetStatus. All this does is return an integer, which is represented by the status. This is what's used by the actual Pet Message Manager to actually get what's going on and determine what to do from there. So we pretty much have shown off all the code and how to build this. Let's actually see this thing in action. So let's hit play. All right. So I am pet. That's the main message for when it's fine. Oh, he's angry and he's feeling bad, so we're going to have to discipline him. And then he goes back to being I am pet. So then we'll wait again, see, and now he's hungry, so we'll feed him. See? So very similar to Tamagotchi, every 5 seconds, because that's what we set it for, it'll actually change status, and then based on what actions you do, will impact that. I mean, there's other things we have to do as well, including like build out things like growth, how it's evolving, like all of its other different stats, but this covers the basic idea of when something kind of happens to the pet or the pet's mood changes, then the player has to do some kind of action to correspond for it. Oh, he made mess. So there we go. That's how you would pretty much build a pet simulator similar to the Tamagotchi. Hopefully this has been really helpful, especially for those who are interested in doing this kind of pet simulator type of game or having a pet simulator within a game they're working on. All right, and that covers code. Hopefully you enjoyed building your own pet simulator. So you can actually find the code at the GitHub link below. If you have any thoughts, comments, or questions, or just want to like and subscribe, you can do that below as well too. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.